And now we get to find the area between these three functions right here. So these two, because they have x squared, are parabolas. I'm going to go ahead and graph those first. Notice that it's in quadrant 1 only. So go to the y equals. And now there's this glare on the screen this morning. I don't know what's going on, but I can't get rid of it unless I get fancy and go like this. Oh, look at that. Beautiful. So because it's quadrant 1, I'm going to change the window to go from 0 to 5 for the x's and 0 to 5 for the y's. And then we've got the two parabolas. So actually going out to 5 was too much. Maybe just 2. Well, I'll adjust that in a moment. Also, I need to graph this one. So solving for y, it's going to be 4 minus 4x. 4 minus 4x. So this region right here between the red one, the blue one, and the black one, so this little region right here is what's being talked about. This is x equals 1, and this is y equals 2. So I could zoom in on that area, have x go from 0 to 1, and y go up to 2. So we have the red parabola, we have the blue parabola, and then we have the black line. And this area in here is what we're supposed to find. Well, what we're going to need to do, get to do, is two integrals. Because in this area, it's going from the red parabola to the blue parabola. And then in this area, it's going from the black line to the blue parabola. So at this point, that's where they change. So we need to find out what's x right there at this point, and what's x right here at this point. Okay, since this is x equals 1, this, I don't know, is about 0.6 or 0.7. This looks like it's about 0.5. But I can't just use what it looks like. I need to actually do some algebra and find out. So this is when the parabola meets the line. This is when the other parabola meets the line. So basically I need to take this one and substitute it in there, then solve for x. Later take this one, substitute it, and solve for x, and get these two x values. So for one of them, it's going to be 3x squared equals the line 4 minus 4x. And then move everything to the left side. So 3x squared plus 4x minus 4 equals 0. And then let's try to factor it. So 3x and x will produce the 3x squared. And then in order to make a 4, I'm going to guess that it's a 2 and a 2. And one of them needs to be negative, and one of them needs to be positive. And if you check the middle term, this would be positive 6x minus 2x. That's 4x, so I actually factored it correctly. If I solve for this one, it's going to say x equals negative 2, which is over here. If I solve for this one, it's going to say x equals 2/3. Next, take this one and set it equal to the line. So the same work, 8x squared equals 4 minus 4x. Put everything on the left side. And with this one, I could factor out a 4. It would leave 2x squared plus an x minus a 1 equals 0. And then factor. So it'll be 2x. This will be x. And for a 1, use a 1 and a 1. And again, one of them needs to be negative and one of them needs to be positive. And then check and make sure I factored correctly. So this would be 2x squared positive, and this would be minus an x, which leaves plus x. I actually did it. So this one would give us x equals negative 1, which is not in the correct area. This one will be x equals a half. So it turns out that this point is 1/2, and this point is 2/3. So now I need to do two integrals. One is going to go from 0 to a half, and it's going to find this area. And that's going to be between the red parabola and the blue parabola. So let me get another piece of paper right here. So the red parabola and the blue parabola, which one is which? Well, this one says the y value is 8 times x squared, and this was 3 times. Since 8 is bigger, this red one right here must be y equals 8x squared. And this blue one is 3x squared. So to find the area, you need to have the top one minus the bottom one. So that means that we need to integrate. The top one is 8x squared minus the bottom one is 3x squared. And then that needs to go from 0 to 1/2. Now for this area. So for this area, the top function is the line, 4 minus 4x, and the bottom one is the blue parabola. So we need to add on the area when we integrate from 1/2 to 2/3. The top function is the line, 4 minus 4x. And then the bottom one is the blue parabola, which is 3x squared. All right, so all of that was the setup. Now to actually integrate. So for this one, you could actually combine these. That's going to be 5x squared. And then integrating 5x squared is going to be 5x is raised to the 3 over 3. And then evaluate that from 0 to 1/2. For this one, there are no terms that can be combined, so we just need to find the antiderivative for each one. The antiderivative for 4 will be 4x. And for 4x, right now its exponent is a 1, so if you add 1, that's 2, and then divide by 2. So once you reduce, this one is going to be 2x squared. And then adding 1 to the exponent for this one is going to make it a 3, and then divide by 3. So this one, the 3's will cancel, and it leaves minus x cubed. And this all gets evaluated from 1/2 to 2/3. So for this one, substitute the 1/2 first of all. So 5 and then 1/2 gets cubed over 3. And when you substitute 0, it's going to be 0. So right here, subtract 0. And then for this one, substitute the 2/3. So that'll be 4 times 2/3 minus 2, and 2/3 gets squared, minus 2/3 gets cubed. And now when you substitute the 1/2, so 4 times 1/2 minus 2 times 1/2 is squared, and minus 1/2 is cubed. Now I'm just thinking, do I want to put this in the calculator or just figure it out myself? Well, I'm going to simplify a little bit. This would be 1/8. When you cube the half, that's 1/8. So that means it's 5/8. And then if you're dividing by 3, that means multiply by 1/3. This one will be 8/3. When you square this, it's going to be 4/9, but then times 2. So that's going to be 8/9. So minus 8/9. And when you cube, this one's going to be minus 8/27. When you cut a 4 in half, that's 2, but then distribute the negative, so that's going to be minus 2. And then this will be 1/4 times 2, so that's a half, but then it's negative negative, so it's plus a half. And then this will be a 1/8, negative negative means it's plus 1/8. Mostly I wanted to do that because otherwise when I type this in the calculator, I might miss a parenthesis and there's all these exponents. So now I'll type that in the calculator. Oh, the glare today. All right. So this one is 5/24. And then plus 8/3 minus 8/9 minus 8/27 minus 2 plus a half plus 1/8. And the final answer is 0.315. And I'm pretty happy that the answer is small and positive, because if you look at this, this is only going from 0 to 1. And so this area right here is actually pretty small. So I'm satisfied that the answer is 0.315.